was a really, really interesting session. And what I think was particularly interesting is Almudena and I were talking off camera before we started, and and you were telling me that nobody's really mapped the BA role specifically in flight levels. So this is kind of like actually really cutting edge stuff. So I'm gonna
Absolutely.
I'm gonna hand over to Almudena for a presentation entitled "Business Analysis in Flight Levels: Thriving, Not Surviving." So, Almudena, straight over to you.
Thank you very much. As always, Adrian, it's always a pleasure to work with you. It means I always had some webinars and wrote some articles for your magazine, and it's always been a pleasure. I work very close to the business analysts. I'm not a business analyst myself. I will explain my role now, but I'm constantly in contact with you and with your role. So it's always been a pleasure to be together with you and learn from you. So about
Thank
my person, who are we? This is my company actually, and we are around the world supporting companies with any sort of IN methodologies and artificial intelligence introduction. We are trying to support the companies wherever the problem is. Can we tailor a solution? So we run business consulting. That's our major. We are pretty wide regarding certifications. We're involved in SAFe, in LESS, in Management 3.0, in quite a lot of organizations because we make sure we give the customer what they need and not what we have. So we have, and of course, we're flight level certified, obviously. That's the reason I'm getting close to this subject today. That's me. That's me. I've been around in the world of IL methodologies for a while. But my background is actually software engineering. I'm a software engineer. I was 22 years working for the company Ericsson in the telecommunications. So I've been writing code. I've been going through Scrum teams. I've been suffering quite a lot with requirements engineering. So I've had a lot of experience before I decided to create my own company. And together with some colleagues from Ericsson, we created a small boutique company where we support companies worldwide. You might hear my accent and my name. I'm Spaniard, obviously, and went to high school in United States in Michigan. I saw some Lansing people there. I was in Grand Haven, so a beautiful experience going to high school in United States the senior year, and went to college in Germany. So actually, I could say I'm German because I've been over 40 years in Germany, and we're working literally all over the place. And what do we do? Whatever our customer needs, we have transformation projects, awareness talks like this one we're doing, and IL consultancy. We work in four languages, in German, Spanish, English, and French. And we support companies whenever they need us, not as much what we want, but what the customer needs. And we have a very wide variety of sectors where we're right now. I'm very strongly working with Schneider Electric, my actual customer in Spain. I've been many years working for the Austrian Railways now. Of course, Ericsson's where we come from. So we have a very wide variety of industrial sectors. We've seen a lot of different situations. And what I'm going to present today is a bit based on the experiences we have. Now, where do I get started here? Once upon a time, there was they were trying to bring the strategy and corporate execution to the development. All started, probably the name Scrum is familiar to you. So there was this famous product owner role was pretty associated with the business analyst, which got close to the customer, to the teams, became part of the teams. And that's the first time we got a strategy and execution close together in about 10, 12 people. Now, at some point, the Scrum was not enough. Nokia had at some point 2,000 Scrum teams. So we needed to scale. We need to go one step forward. And here I have to mention my colleague, Angel Medinilla. He's amazing with paintings and with drawings, and delighted that I'm allowed to use also his genius materials. Is not made with ChatGPT. I only have 3 pixels with ChatGPT. Everything else is done by hand. Believe me. Now we needed to think farther. We need to think in different flight levels. We need to go one step forward. A company could have 60 people, 600, 6,000, 60,000. Ericsson had 150,000. My actual customer has also 120,000. So we need to scale. And here we had quite a few frameworks, methodologies. No? So there are core frameworks and methodologies designed to bridge the gap between corporate strategy and operational execution. And I could go far in detail, which I will not. We are going to focus in the one which is not here, which is quite of the new kid on the block. I've already spoken to you a couple of times on SAFE. Actually, I even wrote an article on the role of the business analyst in SAFE. And together, today we're going one step forward. We're going to focus on the flights level model. Flight level defines themselves as an operating system, not as a framework. I'm not religious about this. So if people decide to define themselves as an operating model, system, it's fair enough. What flight level does, organize works into three distinct levels with on strategical level, what could call the portfolio area, coordination, where we establish workflows for cross-functional topics, and then operational, where we have teams, could be departments, we prefer teams for sure, which do the execution. So this is the distinction where it is done by flight levels. And flight levels, it's seen more of a system architecture. We connect some disparate agile islands on short actions or some development, make a cohesive organizational flow. Flight level secures whatever we're working on is connected to the strategy. Okay, a couple of why flight levels? Because misalignment is expensive. We have proved already that most of the transformation failed due to poor strategy. How many times I'm invited by a customer to run some agile introduction operation to do some activities, and I ask, okay, could you please share with me the strategy of the company? Yeah, then look at me. And they start searching for it. And actually I had a customer where we never found the strategy of the company. So we created something bottom up. We called it a strategy because we had no competition. And we used this as a guidance for all the activities we're doing. Because if I'm as a business consultant, whatever I'm doing in your company, I need to know where you're heading for. That is the strategy. And this is in flight levels very important. What's the strategy? Are we aligned with it? That's the second point. And you see 41% of the organization are not aligned. Or only 41% are aligned. That means the majority are not aligned to the company strategy. So from this point of view, whatever we're working on might not be what the company needs. And that's something as a business consultant, which I always run into. Once you are aligned, you're surely going to outperform competitors. In this case, we say 2.9 times. It could be 2.3, 3.4, I don't care. Aligned organizations outperform the competitors because most of the companies are not aligned with the strategy. So from this point of view, that's the basis, the core of flight levels. And I'm going to throw a couple of concepts, and this is not the flight levels lesson, but I want to give you a couple of concepts, what makes flight levels different to all the frameworks we have in the market, and believe me, we have enough. Flight levels presents itself as a work system topology. You create a topology of work systems so that you secure all the work is connected, and you might do it or used to do it for the entire organization. We might start with a part of the organization, but you should think systemic on the complete organization to create work system topologies. What can this look like? This is a typical, or this could be a flight level setup. As we have already defined, we have three levels, and each of these island where you have a board and people are on it. It's a flight levels work system. It is a board, a visualization board, plus all the human interaction, all the people, all the information needed to operate and improve the work environment. So each of this island builds a work system. And if you see there's a board here shared by two work systems, so they built also a work system in the coordination level. And in the operational level, we have here three work systems. So it's just not a team, it's not a board, it's everything which is related to this human interaction to operate and improve. Pretty much similar to this work system topology we see here. We see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 work systems of 3 levels, and 2 of them are also combined in a further work system. This is a pretty simple work system. I introduced this very much one which we have here, introduce it in a company with 60 people. No? So this can be used in small setup. If we have 6,000 people, we have to rethink. We have to probably the coordination levels needs some more reworking. So this is something I've been already working on. And this is about all the theory of flight levels, work systems in a work systems topology. What also flight levels defines is some activities. It defines 5 activities. The first one is visualize the process. Use work management boards to track daily work. That's the reason you see here so many boards. Whatever you're working, visualize it. It can be physical, it can be mirror, maybe not Jira, but whatever makes a beautiful visualization. So secure, everybody can see what's happening. And this is this visualize whatever we're working on, track daily work on any flight level. Second is you create focus by establishing these environments, these work systems. You bring outcome and daily tasks together on one roof. You secure here in this board, focus on whatever is needed. You see this line of coordination. It could be related to, might be familiar with OKRs, with objective key results, got in this direction. We secure whatever this working on this board is focusing on what we need, on the outcomes we require. Number 3 is establish agile iterations. And here it gets very interesting. Flight level doesn't give you any ceremonies. Spoiler, flight levels doesn't give you any roles. It's going to be no fun with your role. Flight levels very little prescriptive. Says, do whatever agile interaction you may need. Create as many ceremonies as you think of. So it is pretty open, which is good and bad. If you have a mature environment, this could work. If you have a not mature environment, this can get complex. But it's completely open. What ceremonies you may have, with cadence you could have, which roles you have. This is not prescripted like flight levels. Flight levels only secures you have focus, you are coordinated, you visualize, you have a hook to the strategy. And number 4, you measure progress. If we define outcomes in flight level 3, we want to see on flight level 1 what the progress look like. And that is related to whatever is up there. Getting very close to objective key results. And improve constantly. Flight levels doesn't speak of retrospective, but it gives you a hint, secure, you are always improving. So this is a rough overview of flight levels. I didn't want to make this a lesson on flight levels. I just wanted to give you an overview. And here I give you a couple of hints that probably the most difficult flight level to understand is the coordination level. Is where the value streams comes from strategic level to operational. How does this coordination look like? Well, you might have customer-facing product and services. These are sort of value streams. The coordination level could be a product you're selling. Or you might have some supporting part of the product or service. Could be a platform. It could be a platform used by several products. This could be also a flight level route, a value stream. Or you may have enabling functions. You may have procurement, you have human resources, you may have several enabling functions which are supporting the whole thing, which are not operative, but without them, we cannot work. And then a very interesting flight level 2 could be pop-up systems. Is there a task force, for example, could be an innovative product which we're considering to bring to the market? We might create on flight level 2 a coordination area, a flight level 2 work syncing system, pop-up system for a complete innovation product would work for several months, focus, and once we have clarified if it's going to be a customer-facing product, it disappears. So pop-up systems are situations like creating a system which is compliant to GDPR or creating an innovative functionality which they pop up, you have a task force for a while and disappears again. These are the possibilities and many more you could have on flight level 2. So this gets a bit more complex. I'm trying to give you an overview. And that's about most of the theory I'm going to give you now. I already spoke here in this community about SAFe quite a lot ago. SAFe's a bit more prescriptive. You have your roles, you have your artifacts, like the different backlogs. You have a very clear requirements definition. You have here more prescriptive, which sometimes people pitch around about SAFe because they say, oh, like SAFe is so prescriptive. So, well, depends on the maturity of your company. I first struggled with flight levels in a small company I had because they were not mature enough. So it depends. I cannot say good or bad, but we do see a pattern. We do see a pattern that the flight level 3, the strategic level, pretty much match to the portfolio of SAFe. The flight level 2, the coordination level, pretty much has a matching to the train level or solution train. And the operational level is pretty much aligned with the Scrum team, Kanban team, IL team, whatever we want to call it. So a flight level doesn't speak straight about Scrum or Agile teams, but we do see there is some sort of strong relationship. May the gods of flight level don't kill me. But flight levels is less prescriptive for good and bad. It's not that the BA role is not defined, it's that no role is defined in flight levels. And here we come, after giving you an overview, we come to the BA. What about you? Now, independent of flight levels or any method or agile setup or framework, your role has radically changed. It's probably, I don't need to tell you about this, no? But I'm going to recap a bit what I'm seeing in the industry. The business processes are becoming increasingly complex. It's not about the big fish eating the small fish anymore. It's about the quick fish eating the slow fish. Velocity and complexity are the new currency in the market. And this brings a huge impact on your role. You are now facing several environments with multiple stakeholders where you are facing technology, finance, and marketing, operations, sales, IL teams, cybersecurity, and you need sort of coordination here. So the traditional role of the business analyst, the way I'm seeing it in the industry, of course, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is moving around of this traditional content production. Don't spend months writing requirements, engineering documents. It's not your job anymore. Artificial intelligence is automating routine documentation. What we need from you is the high value critical thinking. That is what we really need from BAs, not just documenting requirements. When I was in the 90s in Ericsson, we got this document, the requirements document from Stockholm with 350 pages for our document, and some business analysts have worked 350 pages in 6 months, and it was dropped to us more or less. By the time it got to the printer, it was completely outdated. And it was supposed to be everything clear. Nothing was clear. Velocity was growing and increasing, and these huge documents were not helping. I mean, this doesn't mean we don't need any documentation anymore, for God's sake. Yes, somehow, somewhere, we need to define functional technical requirements. Yes. But this translating of business need into clear specification for development, business intelligence, or advanced analytics, I think it's not your job anymore to do manually with your pen and your paper. Companies needs to make data-driven decision. This is still our, we have hyper competition. This is forcing organization to choose carefully where to invest, what to optimize, which markets to develop, which process to redesign. Before everybody came in, Adrian and me were speaking about the actual market situation, of course, dramatically changing every second day. You do need to at some point to have some data-driven decision, and yes, that the business analyst is for sure very important in this role, but it is AI accelerating the analytical capability. No, it is. You do have advanced tools which make it possible to automate calculations, to generate prediction, and evaluate scenarios quickly. You have document generation and data analysis and reporting. These agents or skills or GPTs, whatever you want to call them, they are there already. You can actually download them. Your role is interpreting these results. Your role is analyzing the AI results and turning them into decisions that are understandable and actionable. So what you're doing as a business analyst now is beyond handling data. You're a decision architect, you're a strategic partner to senior management. You are the one who take care of stakeholder alignment. You're acting a bit of a translator between non-technical business clients and software developers. So you are bridging the communication gaps what artificial intelligence cannot do. So let the repetitive work be done by AI, of course, with proper prompting, of course, very well-trained agents. You have to have your rack, but you just have to look at the results, and then you're the one who communicates insights and recommendation. You are the one who makes the data storytelling. You're the ones who turn this complex analysis into clear narratives that support the high impact decisions. So with all the information you receive, you have the ability to identify value drivers and understand the financial impact of the decision. Somehow of system thinking into it. Whoever is worried whether you are unemployed in the next years, it looks like, at least in the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, you might need even to hire some people for the next 5 years. So you are not the one disappearing with artificial intelligence. You are the one who is interpreting the artificial intelligence. You are the one who are doing system thinking based on the information artificial intelligence bringing. And when I was in Ericsson in the PMO, I was quality coordinator in the 90s, and I was writing some documents I hope nobody else had ever needs to write. I wish I could just dictate it, ChatGPT document, and would write it to me a couple of minutes and not the few days I spent. So manual work, repetitive work is not your work anymore. Now, I've spoken about flight levels. I've spoken about your role. And now I have to put it together. No, that is my major today. And this was, believe me, it was not easy because I already mentioned flight levels has no rules. Whatever role you need, you take it. And if you need here Scrum teams, you do it. If you need here product manager, you take it. You might call it a different way. So what do you do in flight levels area? We have, for example, flight level 1, which is the strategic level. Excuse me, flight level 3, the strategic level. Here we need from the business analysis the ability to identify value drivers. understand financial impact of decision, identifying the business needs. This, of course, always a lot of projects, products, initiatives. We'll see now a bit what requirements look like in flight levels. And it is you who has to support this prioritized. You could say, okay, some systemic thinking, what it's moving the company forward. And you need to combine here on the flight level 3 data, business insight, and strategic thinking. You also the strategic thinking to the senior management, to the C-level. And you are an influencer somehow. On flight level 3, on strategic level, you influence the decision of the company. On flight level 2, we have here more information flow design. This could be the more abstract or difficult level to understand, because here's where we secure the strategies dropped into pieces of initiatives. So first, I'm a very strong friend of visualization. You see here in flight level 2, 3 boards. Whatever you need to visualize, visualize it. Secure whatever decisions you are taking, it is visualized. It is electronic or physically, whatever you prefer. You negotiate and take care of the change management. What do we have to adapt? What we need to support? And these business goals have to be connected to practical solutions. So you guide this decision making on flight level 2. What we call the role, I don't know. Maybe business analyst, maybe something more fancy like business owner, maybe epic owner. We've seen it all. Whatever you like to call it, main thing we identify the responsibilities. But you can do nothing wrong because there's no naming convention in flight levels. And on flight level 1 is where we finally bridge business and technology. We translate the organizational needs into clear requirements for technical team, and you have to make sure you support this implementation with whatever knowledge is required. Going back to flight level 3 on strategic level, here we may have long-term business outcomes, what are we expecting to do, mid-term measurable outcomes, and short-term outcomes. We could say 1 year, 6 months, 3 months. And these we put them into requirements. Flight level items is called here. But here you secure this mapping from whatever we're heading for. What could be more concrete? And we could be more concrete, and what can we do in the next 3 months to get to this outcome? You are the ones supporting it. In which way? Here we have some ideas, what flight levels calls item types. But it says here, it is just an example. So it's not prescriptive. And what I really like is we keep the windows, the cadence very short. A measurable impact within 3 months. We don't want to have huge projects which run over years and we don't see any impact. We don't want to see it in any Agile framework, also not on flight levels. So we map these outcomes to initiatives. They come from flight level 3 and flight level 2. And this initiative might be short-term activities. Here we call it epics, perfectly fair, up to 6 weeks, which still created the stories, which is our 2 weeks activities, not following the user story concept on flight level 1. So you see how requirements dropped in this naming convention. What I like is this short term. Nothing. We want to measure something, some impact in 3 months. What do we need to do together? And here the role of the business analyst is crucial. Putting it together. The role of the business analyst is all over the place. From the strategical influencer and coordinator and partner from the C-level, than to securing whatever value streams we design. And here is where I see the difficulty, both in safe and flight levels, on the flight level 2 design, this architecture of work systems. Here we have to secure whatever is being worked, it's aligned with the strategy and it's clearly prioritized, and the information, the data-driven information flows. And flight level 1 is you secure the implementation is aligned with whatever requirements we had. It's more of the classical requirements engineering. This is actually what I had so far to tell you, and I kept it on purpose short because I was hoping and assuming we could have beautiful discussions.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Almudena.
Thank
So
you.
much in there for us to discuss. I know I was sort of taking notes as we were as you were going through there. So excellent. Well, again, if you do have questions, please do put them in the Q&A tab, and we'll cover as many as we possibly can in the time that we have available. And I mean, I think one thing that really struck me, Almudena, when you were talking, was about how actually that I know there's a lot of talk about the BA role changing. I really like the way that you position that actually it's really crucial, and AI means that we've got the opportunity to do the more strategic stuff. And and as you described those flight levels, that really I thought illustrated that so well. It's almost like perhaps pushing up the flight levels, getting more attention at the higher flight levels, and whilst also enabling those sorts of changes. Um, let's see. So if anyone has any questions, do pop them into the Q&A tab, and we'll cover any that come in.
Actually, in most of the agile frameworks, I keep running into a business analysts, which are not called business analysts, which
Yeah,
have different role naming. And then as I start looking into responsibilities, I say, you are a business analyst. I mean, you can be called whatever you want. So no agile framework or operating system, included flight levels, uses the concept of business analyst, but it is somehow somewhere all over the place.
yeah,
And in flight level, it was a bit hidden. I had really, I did a lot of reading and looking, and at the end of the day, I went for my own experiences. I mean, you do need this information which business analysts bring in different formats way, and for sure, artificial intelligence is making your life easier, should make your life easier.
absolutely. And what you're saying there is really interesting. So the International Institute for Business Analysis, I can't remember the definition off the top of my head, but essentially their definition of a BA is anyone that does business analysis, whether or not you've got the title. So it's like actually you can be someone with a different title, and if you do, you might have elements of business analysis in your role. You're still part of the BA community. We welcome everyone into the community. So
I have a company now where I work with, and they have somebody who is the market offer leader. So for a certain area of products, there's a leader, the one who's in contact with the customer, gets information, the needs. It's a business analyst.
yeah, yeah,
On flight
yeah.
level 3-2 on these areas. It's a business analyst. So I think you should give up trying to look for the BA
Yes,
and
yes.
secure your responsibilities.
And
Whatever name it has, pick up that hat.
absolutely. And think about the value. That's what I always think. Think about the value we can add towards the outcomes that the organization needs. So let's take a question. So and apologies if I mispronounce anyone's name, but I think it's Shafali says, what would you say the impact of prompt engineering within the BA role with AI?
And I think, what is the impact if prompt engineering you see with BA
I,
role?
I think Shafali's probably asking there what's the importance or impact of prompt engineering within the BA role. I think is probably the essence of that question.
Okay, well, let's put it this way. One of the biggest problems we have right now with artificial intelligence is crappy prompting. It's not just it's not just BAs. It is anybody is asking somehow, somewhere, some crap. Ne? I mean, it happens to me. I had a picture of my aunt I wanted to have improved by ChatGPT, and I threw it in. I was in a hurry. I threw it into ChatGPT, and I did a crappy prompting. You can guess what happened. No? And I then realized, okay, it was me. I didn't clearly say what I needed. So we are one of the things we're doing when we run our A native courses with our customers, secure the basics. The basic is, are you able to do a proper prompt?
Hmm.
From this point, Cephali is not just AI, a BA. Any role who is not the first thing we have to teach people by using artificial intelligence, and anybody could use it. And most of the companies have the agents already prepared, or they have some LLM bot to ask clearly. Nothing better than a prompt. And for some complex prompting, for some complex skills, you can actually already download them in internet. There are people putting some skills for free. So I'm sure many of the agents you might need as a business analysis, you can already get the prompt. Actually, I can use it for some advertisement. You need a prompt for an objective key result from OKR advisor. We can send one to you. So my
Fantastic. That's
colleague, my colleague has prepared an OKR's advisor, and we have a prompt prepared which can be used with any LLM. So if you want to try it out, send me an email and you will receive this prompt free of charge. And as I'm doing this, many people has already some prompting prepared which you could use, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel. I hope
yeah.
the answer was good enough, Cephali.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure, and I think it's interesting because again, as you were talking there, I was thinking the importance of context and providing context to the LLM when prompting, and I think that's so important and something that we do as BAs. The irony is, if you think about prompts, actually, generally BAs have all the skills to write a good prompt. You just have to channel your analysis skills into that clarity, precision, conciseness to really ask of the LLM, and of course validate the response because sometimes even with a good prompt it might hallucinate, which is the polite way of saying make stuff up. So always beware.
From my experience, it has radically improved these
Yeah, yeah.
hallucinations, but
I,
still, and I have several friends who have an auditor. They have an auditor agent, so they have some
yeah,
information from one agent, and they have another agent which makes an audit on this information. Then they say, check what your colleague just said. So you might even create, you don't have to check this information, this what you said. You might have another agent controlling what the one agent said. No, so here
absolutely.
we already have a couple of things in the industry.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So cross-checking and getting AI to check on itself. And then we have a second question that's asked anonymously. And remember, you can ask a question anonymously if you just tick the anonymous button. And it says, where do you see business analysis, where do you see business analysts adding the most value within the flight level models at flight level one, two, or three?
I I see the need all over the place. No, I work a lot with teams on flight level one, and very often I find them they are missing information. I say, well, why didn't you ask, if not the business analyst, the product owner, product manager, whoever is in contact with the customer, market offer? Oh, he has no time. Say, fantastic. No, so if you don't bring the information with the teams for an implementation, but for me, you say you only have one flight levels where you can put them, Almudena. You have to choose. Ne? For me, it's flight level three. So of course they're needed all over the three. So otherwise, I will have said something else. But if we have to take one choice, the strategical level.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's something I've long thought as well, is that actually the effectiveness of business analysis or the impact of business analysis is amplified the higher up the food chain it can be involved. So, like, of course, like working on a project or a product, that's important. But actually, if we're involved earlier at some of the coordination discussions or even earlier at the strategic discussions, well, actually that ripples down and everything becomes easier because we ask the difficult questions and it's what we're good at as BAs, challenging and asking questions. And seeking clarity.
I mean,
Um,
you have to secure the stakeholder alignment, and
yeah,
you are a communicator. No? So if you clearly see when a strategical aspect is expanding to a new market, it's key for your data-driven analytics. You have to sell it to the C-level. You have to be the one who
yes,
says, listen, here's a clear business opportunity. Uh, um, and this is also a lot with communication and so consultancy like. No? So I
yeah,
think this is the flight level 3 is the most complex role. I've worked on flight level 1. I've been a member of Scrum teams in Ericsson. I've worked with business analyst on flight level 3. One, it was sort of easy. Once we were in contact, we asked questions, we got answers. But on flight level 3, you might influence the complete strategy of the company. There are decisions there which are being taken, which cost millions. So that is where I personally, if I could only pay one, I will put them.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, Great. So let's move on to our next question. Again, we have an anonymous question, which is, how can BAs avoid becoming just facilitators of meetings, which sometimes feels is what we are seen as, and instead become active contributors to improving organizational flow? Gosh, that's a good question.
That is a good question. I was thinking to myself, uh, who the heck pays a business analyst salary to be facilitator of meetings?
It's a good counterpoint.
Excuse me. I mean, like couldn't be more stupid. But in these cases, to be very honest, I always say if you're being pushed as business analyst as a facilitator for meetings, which is for sure not your role, I wonder you're being paid for that. I will go through your role descriptions again to secure we didn't miss anything. And then maybe I will say no. To try with this amazing word, which is no, it is not my role. Because it's for sure not your role. And you guys are not cheap. So I wouldn't put a business analyst, a facilitator, if it's not some top management C-level strategy meeting.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's it. We are facilitators for sure. Our facilitators, aligners, and I think
Yeah.
what struck me when reading that question was there's a certain element. In fact, it comes back to the level three thing as well of actually having to sell the value of what we do.
And
And I
in
think
this case, I will say, if you're facilitating some meetings of flight level 1, maybe you should say no. But here, say, if it's about facilitating a meeting with stakeholders, with the C-level, with investors, and some strategy workshop, what's going to happen with $20 million, which we're going to invest, maybe you are the right one to facilitate.
yeah. It's getting the value of that skill set known in the organization is always the thing. But fantastic. Oh, Shafali has come back and said yes, thank you. So I think we've answered Shafali's questions. So that's good. We'll move on to the next question. So Rob asks, follow up on what was just mentioned about level three being the most important, as in for BAs. If you and I know you said if you could choose just one, like they're valuable all over, but if you could choose just one, if level three is most important, why do you think internal company BAs are most often utilized at level one and two? And how would you suggest moving up towards level three, which is kind of similar to that previous question? It's like, how
Yeah,
do we climb the ladder?
I made a clear point you're needed on all three. So I've my experience. I've done 2 flight level transformations and several safe transformations, and I do see all 3 levels. On flight level 1, if you're not there, you have a short-term impact. Then maybe the sprint is not properly finished. If you're not involved on flight level 3, it is a middle-term impact. Maybe the strategic decision for the next year are not perfect, and this is something you can measure later. So flight level 3 has a later impact than flight level 1. If we have a sprint, then we want the business analyst to be there as a product owner supporting the team. This is very short term and very clear impact, and it's good so. Flight level 2, okay, we may have a cadence of 3 months where we can observe this impact. Flight level 3 is where this impact is most difficult to measure. A bad decision, how do you measure a bad decision? The cost of not doing something you should have done. It gets a bit more complex. So I do see you are needed in all three of them. What shouldn't happen if you're only, like you're saying, in 1 and 2 and not in 3. This is something you might not see clearly. This portfolio doesn't have the right data-driven information to take decisions. I've seen this happen. I've seen this happen, and it is difficult to measure. So here we come in change management. We open a different area. We have how can we make sure we can show that we are not having the right impact in the strategy implementation. I cannot give you one solution. I will try to see who are the drivers of the portfolio. How close can I get? They are surely in the coordination level in the ceremonies, whatever ceremonies we have. How close can I get there? So try to influence from 2 to 3. Try to secure you get from 2 to 3 by using whatever agile interactions are being done there. I know the answer is very vague because it's a very complex question.
Yeah, it's complex and context dependent as well on
Yeah.
the organization. And I, I think it's interesting. I think I'd add to, I agree with what you said there. I think I'd add also one of the challenges I know from myself and many other BAs is that we do, we tend to be in our role because we enjoy detail. And that like you have to let go. You have to embrace the ambiguity as you get higher, right? So
Which is good. I mean, I've been many years a developer. I've been developing software many years. Sometimes I sit together with some teams and they start showing me some code and GitHub and how they test. It's fun for me, but it's not my job as a consultant.
well, and this is it. And I've been in meetings where, you know, perhaps things have been being discussed at like a portfolio level. So really, like literally talking about, well, you know, what's the, in terms of change, what's the strategic roadmap? And someone wants to, and people are human, right? It's natural.
Yeah.
So someone wants to start talking about something really detailed on a specific IT system, and the conversation goes that way, and you have to kind of go, no, no, that we don't even know if we're going to do that yet. This is a waste of a conversation because this is just at the moment that whole entire thing is a bullet point. So let's not get dragged down to whether that field is a multi-select or like it's not the time. So I think the other element is that embracing ambiguity, which is something I do and have always struggled with. I think many BAs do, but it's a skill that it's a skill we have to lean into, I think.
And here it's really good if you're a facilitator in these meetings, as you mentioned right now,
Yes.
when people
Yeah,
go
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah. 100%
technicalities
agree with
that
that.
no
Yeah.
solution. Here are the area where somebody has to facilitate. Say, could you please talk with the details? So maybe it's not always bad that you are a facilitator.
In fact, there's an organization I worked for about, gosh, far too many more years than I'd like to admit ago, where one of the things we did to raise the profile of the BA team was offer facilitation as like to so the exec team would traditionally like go off site, hire external consultants to facilitate, and we were a BA team. We're like, why are they hiring external consultants to facilitate? Our senior BAs can do just as good a job as that, and then if we do that facilitation of their strategic meeting and we do it well, who are they going to come to when they want to execute? Well, they're going to come to us to go. So actually, you can do it by stealth by saying, look, we can save you money, facilitate your corporate offsite. We'll help you design that meeting, and then right, you look okay. You're in exactly the right place for the rest of the conversation. So that could be a way. So that kind of leads us to our next question, which is from an anonymous, or has been submitted anonymously,
One
uh,
mindset.
which is what mindset shift is usually required for BAs who are moving from project focus analysis into a flow-oriented approach?
Yes. I mean, sometimes it is your contract doesn't allow you to move away. So that's
Yes.
one of the first problems I face. I say, Almudena, I'm here for the project, like, then it's my contract. Ne? So here it is, of course, a lot of feeling. Eh? How can you step back and how can we move, not yourself, not just the BA, so the whole organization from project-oriented to value-oriented. And this is what flight levels calls flight routes. No? Somehow a need flights in on flight level 3, goes down for flight level 2, flight level 1 goes up again. A need my flight straight on in flight level 2. So these flight routes, no? It could be projects, but at the end of the day, and I've been many years working in projects in the 90s where we did amazing work, we wrote code, we delivered it. I never knew which product I was working for. I mean, you could speak on the phone, so obviously something was working. No? So whatever we did properly. But we're working so project oriented that at some point we deliver some functionality and we ask, which product is going into? I don't know. No, so this is what we all want to avoid, not just the business analysts. No? So and the point is not just for you, for the BA, is for the whole organization. How do we move from project-oriented to value-oriented? That is like what frameworks like flight levels, like SAFe, like LESS are trying to do. And I'm happy for BAs if they're on board. Like when I come as a change agent or as a consultant and as a business analyst to say, oh yes, Almudena, I'm willing, to do this shift. Fantastic. But you cannot do it alone. You
Yeah.
have to secure a guiding coalition. You have to secure this change is driven on the complete flight level, on not just the business analyst work value oriented and the rest doesn't. It's not,
Fantastic. I
it's
mean,
not
I
gonna
think I think
work.
that's a really good point for us to sort of conclude on is that you can't do it on your own. It needs to be you need that guiding coalition or whatever. So, um, Almudena, thank you so much for taking the time to have a conversation here. If you are on the call live, do just hold on for a few more minutes. I've got some closing announcements. But before I do that, um, I'm sure people will want to connect with you, stay in touch with you, find out more about what you do, about your training. How can people reach out to you?
The great thing about my name is that you can find it in very easily in LinkedIn. If you look for Almudena Rodriguez Pardo, it's really easy. But still, I'm gonna work my email address in the chat, so you can
Fantastic.
reach me anytime with any questions you might have. And otherwise, follow. Oh, yes, you see, I'm doing everything wrong. Follow me in LinkedIn because my name is pretty obvious. Let's see, I didn't do any mistake.
And I've
No.
put a link to your LinkedIn profile in the chat as well, so people can connect with you there.
And I hope,
Um,
did I just put no, I did put, I did it in the question and answers, excuse me,
ah,
Almudena,
easily done. Easily
and
done.
let's put it, now it should be, now
There
I
we
got
go.
it. I
So
managed. So my email address is in the chat, and otherwise, like I say, my LinkedIn is pretty easy to find.
fantastic, excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I think definitely a virtual round of applause is definitely due for a fantastic, thought-provoking session. I can see all the virtual round of applause is coming up there. So thank you so much. If you could just stop sharing your screen just briefly, just while I do a few closing
For
announcements, that
sure.
would be great. So, if you are on here live, just a few things to mention. So, thank you, Almudena. Thank you to everyone who has attended live or indeed is catching up on the recording. I just wanted to let everyone know our next webinar will be on August the 27th. And it is a panel session on the future of the BA role. We have three panelists, all of whom are also speaking at the BA Conference Europe in September. So you get to have a bit of a preview of some of the things that they might be talking about in September. And of course, that webinar, as with all of these, is free. So do go ahead and register for that. Also, I hope you are aware of the free quarterly PDF magazine BA Digest. If you are not, then I would really like you to be because you don't need to register. You can just go and download it. It's about 60 pages. And only yesterday, the Q3 version came out, hot off the press. Now, if when you signed up for the webinar you opted in, you'll automatically get sent BA Digest every quarter. If you didn't, then you can go on opt-in so you get that as well. And also, just a reminder to everyone that the recording will go out to everyone who opted in to receiving follow-up comms, usually within about 24 hours. So there's just a little bit of post-processing that has to happen there. So with that, all that's left for me to say, again, Almudena, a massive thank you. I always really enjoy your webinars, always learn a lot from them.
I
And
always enjoy being with you. It's always
well,
nice.
yeah, the feeling is definitely mutual. And thank you to everyone who has attended. So, well, see you next time. Take care. Stay healthy, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye bye.